Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Podcast, the podcast with four different flavors coming from four different gamers. I am your host, Patrick Smith, and I want to welcome my co hosts, Nick Irwin, Shane Eisterhold, and Russell Rowe.
Hey, Patrick, where can they find us?
Well, the first place you should check out is our website at ittastes.different.com. This is the place where you can subscribe to all of our streams and connect to all of our social media sites. You can also find us on Facebook at It Tastes Different. We're also on Instagram at It Tastes Different PC. And then last but not least is Twitter, where you can find us at It Tastes Diff.
What's for dessert? We find the Nutty Buddy that fell out of the box in the back of the cupboard with Hidden Gem video games. In this episode, we'll talk about the Hidden Gem video games that we all thought didn't get enough attention, or that maybe we think most people don't know about, that we've kind of discovered over the last course of a few years in our video game, playing stuff that, a lot of us have not heard of until one of us played, or maybe the others didn't play it and we played it. So let's kind of start this one off with, how about Nick? Why don't you give us the first game in your Hidden Gems list?
So I'm going to start off with year 2020. So these are games that, or at least this is one game that in 2020 that I think we should have all played. And you may have heard of it soon, or if you listen to our last game review, which is 13 Sentinels. 13 Sentinels is a great game, and it's a hidden gem. I think it's a game that a lot of people don't know about, and I think it's one that a lot of people should experience. If you listen to our review of 13 Sentinels, I think we'll find that we all really love this game, and it's a game that we all think that it is great, and that, for all of us, I don't think any of us heard about this game. It was like we said in our podcast about this game. It was a game that I heard about in a separate podcast. Of people talking about this game, and where I looked it up and got it, and then kind of relayed how much I like it, and then we all decided to review it, and we all got it, and we all enjoyed it a lot. So I think certainly 13 Sentinels is one that came out. It is on PlayStation 4, and it came out toward the end of PlayStation 4's lifespan. Now we have a PlayStation 5, so I think it was one of those hidden gems that just came out towards the end. That happens a lot with a lot of games that come out towards the end of a console's lifespan that are really good games, and this is one of them. So for me, 13 Sentinels, as far as starting off, I got others, but as far as starting off, 13 Sentinels is my first one that I'm going to put out there. Shane, what about you? What's a game that that needs to be looked at more often?
Well, I was going to say 13 Sentinels, but somebody had to steal mine. But no, I'm going to start off with some older games because they still hold up, and in my eyes, I think they're still fantastic. Armed and Dangerous from LucasArts back in, God, what was that? 2098, something like that. 2003. It was a LucasArts game, and it was one of the funniest damn things I've ever played. The weapons in it were stupid and fun and crazy. The storyline was absolutely ridiculously fun. It was one of those games I picked up from Best Buy, I think it was. Or not Best Buy, excuse me, Blockbuster. When they were going out, or when they were going on strong, and then never seen anybody ever rent the thing. They had one copy. I picked it up because I had a coupon and nothing else to do, and boom. I never enjoyed a game so much in my life. I mean, to me, it's still one of the funniest games I've ever played. You can play it on Xbox still. It is backwards compatible. Definitely give it a try. But if I don't know if anybody in this group ever played it, but you need to. It is freaking hilarious. But that's my first one. What about you, Russ?
Man, I'm gonna go ahead and go with I'm gonna switch it up and go back to this year. And even though this game doesn't necessarily, or I should say this last year, 2020, even though the game had been out for a little bit in Japan, even though the game had been around for a little bit, and the series is popular amongst a lot of RPG gamers and stuff like that. But when I talk about this game to general public of gamers, of guys that are either casual gamers or just a little bit above casual gamers everywhere I go, they really haven't heard of the game. and that's Yakuza Like a Dragon. Even though it is rated, actually not probably, it is rated very high and everything like that. There's not a lot of people that really know that game that's outside of like really hardcore gamers. Not only that, but for me personally, for a game like this, for me to enjoy it that much, when we first said that we are going to review it, I was like, oh, we're just desperate for a Series X game. I was like, man, it's like we only had one of three games to decide to really play at release, and this was one of them. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. 85 hours later, I still have it installed, and I go and I run can missions, and I do batting practice just so I can try to get certain achievements and stuff. So, I mean, it is kind of a softball, thrown to me, and I knocked it out of the park with that because it is kind of a popular series. But for me personally, that is a hidden gem to me. For me personally, maybe not in the scheme. So, Patrick, what about you? What's your first one?
So I'm going to go with an older title myself, something from like not old as Shane, obviously, but I'm going to go with something like 2016, 2018 that I don't know if any of you guys have played, but it's all like a storytelling, hilarious game called Her Majesty's Spiffing. The Empire Staggers Back. So I don't know if any of you guys have played those, but it's by a studio called like Billy Goat Entertainment, and it's just humor. It's just funny humor all around. It's a really funny game, and it's almost like looking back on it. It's almost like it's telling the future because the game is like a storytelling game of when the United Kingdom withdraw from the European Union. So it's almost kind of a future telling game. It's Nostradamus of video games. I mean, and it's hilarious. It's very funny. They're on like in the game, you're kind of like on a ship called like, I think it was like the HMS Imperialist, but it's like a Mini Cooper converted into a spaceship. So very, very much UK English humor, but it's a hilarious game and basically it's called Her Majesty's Spiffing. So funny game. I enjoyed it. The title is what caught my eye, and I'm like, what is this? So I had to check it out. Good game. You should check it out if you're into like point and click style adventure games. It's storytelling, point and click adventure, but really funny game. So have any of you guys played that one?
No, but I want to just from the title alone.
Well, it is on Xbox One. It is on Xbox, so it's also on the Switch and everything else.
All right.
So Nick, what else you got for us? What's on your list?
The game I have on my list is also a 2020 game, and that's Since, a cyberpunk ghost story. I am playing that on our YouTube page, so check that out. I do have the first 2 episodes of that game. This game, I don't think a lot of people knew about this game coming out. I mean, it did have some controversy with some of the, it's kind of manga in that sense of, anime type, big breasted and big bootied women and various things like that. But the game centers around, it's a 2D side scrolling game, 2D, 3D kind of sense in a way. But it's kind of reminiscent of Clock Tower and, games like that, like Fatal Frame and stuff. And so far, this game is really good. And I think so far it's only out on the Switch and PC, but I believe it's coming to the PlayStation and Xbox at some point. Because they do talk about that in the options menu. It does talk about using an Xbox controller and PlayStation controller. So I assume that it is coming out for those consoles. I don't 100% know that, but it almost seems that way. But this game is really good. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I really like it. I haven't gotten to the end of it yet, but so far it's really good, and it's a really great game. And I think just a lot of people probably don't know about it. They may know a little bit more about it because of the controversy around it, and it's stupid controversy. But other than that, I don't think most people would, pay attention to this game, and you really should because I think it's a really good game. And I'm really enjoying playing it. So
yeah, I didn't hear about it until you told me about it.
Yeah.
It's got a very high user rating. I think on like Metacritic, it's like a 9.6. So
yeah, it's really good. I really like it so far. It's really enjoyable.
And I think I heard the same thing that it was coming to PlayStation, but I hadn't heard about it until you'd said something. But like I said, it's getting definitely a really high game, really high review, and it's on my to play list as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good game. So it's on Steam right now, and like I said, I think it's on Switch as well, and I think it's coming to the Xbox and PlayStation at some point. I don't know when. I don't think they've said anything, but it does have, like I said, in the options menu, it does talk about those platforms. So I would assume it is coming to those.
And it's
So
only a
definitely
$20 game.
Yeah,
So
it's a cheap game. So yeah, check it out. I mean, like if you have a Steam or a Switch, download it. It's a great game. It's really fun. But anyway, that's my second one. Shane, what about you?
I'm going to go with another old game here that today still holds up, and that's D2 for the Sega Dreamcast. When I first played it, I thought it was going to be kind of a Resident Evil type of game. It's not. It's more inclined to Parasite Eve. It's more story driven. Very, very, very good narrative story throughout the entire game. That was one of my favorite things. It was had some survival elements, a little bit of RPG. It was just such a good game, such an underrated game for the time, because Dreamcast was just a dang failure of a launch. It was one of those few games that just never got played because Dreamcast didn't do well. It was an amazing system, but Sega just dropped the ball big time. But the game itself was fantastic.
That's interesting that you picked that, because I mean, I wouldn't consider that a hidden gem. Maybe an underrated game for sure, because everybody rated that game like it was garbage.
Yeah,
I think its average was in the
wrong.
60 percentile. I think is what average reviews were for that game back in the day.
I think that's probably about right. See, yeah, right here, Metacritic gave it like a 69. But they're wrong. The game is fantastic. It's one of those games to me that might just be a me game, but I think more people need to give it a play. A lot of people didn't get to play it at that time because a lot of people didn't buy the Dreamcast because Sega just dropped the bomb.
And you ain't gonna get to play it right now unless you play it on a ROM, where you can find a Dreamcast that's affordable. Because Dreamcast retro console is not affordable.
Dreamcast
is pretty affordable.
Bucks, 50, 60 bucks. The game is 140 on average.
And
there's no way in hell I will pay that.
You know what's funny, Shane? Is for your birthday and various things, I've looked at this game to buy it for you. Because I know you love it so much.
It is. It is.
Know how many times I've looked up this game, like just for you, because I know how much you love it.
It is absolutely one of my favorite gaming memories of all time. This game, and there's very few games that I can put into that area of that is that's my gaming life right there, and this is definitely one of them. And like I said, though, it didn't get played a lot because it didn't sell a lot because the console didn't sell a lot.
So then that goes to say, is it worth the $150 that you would need? Because do you have a Dreamcast, Shane?
No, but as soon as I can find a copy of this that ain't $150.
Well, I mean, you can buy it right now on Amazon for $100.
Man, I think my wife would divorce me, murder me, and then remarry me just to murder me one more time. If I paid $100 for 23-year-old game. But I would pay $100 for it if I wouldn't get murdered. I honestly would.
Let's see how much I paid for a game.
I've been with Nick when he spent $100 plus on a video game, and this was at a RetroCon.
Yeah, but see, there's a difference. His girlfriend can walk the hell away. My wife, she walks away. She's taking all my stuff with her.
Right. I mean, yeah. I guess you could try to get one, but $100. eBay has some for $65.
Ooh, I didn't. See, I don't like eBay.
That's
but
the Japan version.
If anybody has it lying in grandma's closet or something, man, grab it, play it. You got to. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, that's one of those games that when I think of my favorite gaming memories, it's D2, Legend of Dragoon. I mean, there's very few, but I can name them all. What about you, Russ? What's your next?
I'm gonna go back, not necessarily way back in the day, but and again, this now that we kind of said that about Shane's game, I kind of worry. Like, I don't remember huge fanfare with this game, but I do. I don't remember that it was hated or anything, but and I'm probably gonna blow everybody's mind because they probably are not they'll be surprised that I say this game. And the game is called Soldier of Fortune 2 Double Helix. It was released
that game.
Love that game.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic.
So this, for me, came out. It was released in May 20 of 2002. For those that don't chronologically know my life, that was the time that I really got into PC gaming. This was right before MMOs started to hit like really hard for me. But this was a game, I was in the BX, which for those that don't know is a military Walmart. I went in there and I saw this and I was like, well, this looks pretty cool to get it in. Raven Software developed this game. For those that don't know, Raven is now part of Activision, and they do play parts in some of these new Modern Warfare games and stuff. But this is like the OG to me. This is the OG next to like it's like the rated R version of Counter-Strike to me. Like, you could shoot heads off, you could shoot arms off, you could do like, I mean, everything that you could think of. It's based on a story about a Vietnam veteran, an actual real life person named John Mullins. It's the some of the missions in there are actually real life missions and assignments that he went on. So that was really cool. It was that first, like, I mean, yeah, I played Doom and I played some but this was like the first person shooter beyond Counter-Strike that I was like next to Half-Life. So this and Half-Life kind of go hand in hand, but we all know how loved Half-Life is. So I'm not even going to go there in Hidden Gem. I think this is a hidden gem just because it wasn't a hugely popular game, I think, in the day. Obviously, out of the four of us, Patrick probably still remembers it too, but that for me was definitely one of those. And so I'm going to kick it on to Patrick because I could talk about this game for a while, but, let's see what his next pick is.
So I am going to pick one from this year, this time around, and it's one that we all played, but I don't think a lot of people played, because when I talk to most of my friends and stuff outside of our gaming group, they have never heard of or played this game, but it's a great co-op game that came out this year that more people need to play it. It's Deep Rock Galactic. All four of us played that, but a lot of people outside of the gaming groups that I'm in haven't played it. The casual gamers haven't played it and stuff like that. So it's definitely an interesting concept for a game, and it's a quick little 4-player jump in, jump out style game. It's really quick matches too. I mean, we played countless hours of that game with the four of us have, and it's just one of those things that, if you look at like Metacritic and stuff like that, it's only got like 130 or 300 rating. 300 people have rated this game, which is not very many people when you consider how Metacritic and stuff like that goes. So yeah. I would consider this one a hidden gem outside of, most people that play a lot of games, because, we only really played it because of Game Pass. I mean, if it wasn't for Game Pass, we wouldn't have played Deep Rock Galactic.
It was a very enjoyable game. I agree.
Yeah, so, it's one of those ones I think is a hidden gem that came out last year in 2020 and not very many people played. Nick, what else you got for us?
Well, I got a game that I wasn't too fond of. I liked it, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. But I think it is a game that from last year that is kind of a hidden gem, which is Immortals Phoenix Rising. I think that game came out towards the end of the scope. It is a Ubisoft game, so it does have kind of a little bit more spotlight than most games. But I think this game kind of came out towards the end around a lot of big titles, and it kind of got hidden in the weeds of things. So again, it wasn't really my cup of tea, but I think Immortals Phoenix Rising is when I said in my review, I think it is a great game. And so I think it is a hidden gem. I think it's a gem that if you've been playing a lot of Ubisoft games and a lot of Assassin's Creeds and various things like that, it's very reminiscent of those Ubisoft games, but it's a very good one. And it's a very good one that I think a lot of people should experience and play, because it is a little bit different than most Ubisoft games. It kind of follows the same structure, but it kind of deviates from that too, with different gods and various things of that nature with their commentary and stuff. So, yeah, I think Immortals: Phoenix Rising is a hidden gem that I think a lot of people will probably miss out on, because just we had Cyberpunk and Call of Duty and all that stuff that came out around that same time, and even Assassin's Creed Valhalla came around at the same time. That a lot of people will miss out on Immortals: Phoenix Rising that should play it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. Russ had the best analogy for it with its Saturday morning version of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I mean, it didn't have all the seriousness and the dragging, and yeah, that was a game I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did, and absolutely loved it.
Nice.
What about you, Shane?
Well, my next game, you guys probably never played. I grabbed it off of Game Pass. It was called Shyness: The Lightning Kingdom. It's a little RPG. It's real cutesy characters. Kind of got a Zelda vibe to it. But it's just like the sweetest little RPG. I only got maybe 14, 15 hours into it, if that. It came out, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that. But it was just a fun, sweet little game. It was just a little indie developer. I'm not even sure who did it. I'd have to look it up. I just remember it was one I think I mentioned to you, Nick, when we were playing different games or something at that point. But it's just a sweet little game. It's great old school mechanics. Characters are very reminiscent of Final Fantasy IX, almost knockoff-ish in a way. But
that's what I was going to say. It looked very the old Final Fantasy anime character kind of style.
Yeah, and but it's just a sweet game. It really is. It's one that you can drop in and out of, because it's not like overly bearing and complicated and all that. But it's fun. It's a good little story. And it was one I can't remember why I grabbed it. I think I was just wanting an RPG at that point, and I was like, let me try it, and I did, and I couldn't say any nicer things about it. I mean, the combat could have been a little more hands-on, but other than that, it's a great game. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of people should give it a try. If you get time, guys, just jump in it for a little bit and see what you think. I really like it. But that was probably one of those few rare games where I was like, I'm going to try this, and I really ended up enjoying it a lot. What about you, Russ? What's next on your big boy list?
Well, as the pattern we're going, I should pick a game from 2020, but I don't really have much more hidden gems of 2020 but I do have a couple from this year playing. Now, a game that I picked up out of nowhere, that I am really starting to enjoy. I'm playing just a little bit on the side as we do other things. This game was released in 2014. Patrick hasn't given it a shot yet, but I have enjoyed it. It is a gorgeous looking game, even for being made in 2014, and that's Child of Light. Ubisoft Montreal is the publisher of that game, and I'm enjoying it. It's a very cute story. It's a female protagonist, like a small girl that's a protagonist. It's kind of like a mixture of something like Unraveled or something like that, kind of platformy, but not really bad, with an RPG. There's a turn-based fighting in it that is unique and different, but it's just a very beautiful game in the sense of kind of bringing you back to like a childlike moment. I put in about 6 or 7 hours, and like I said, I'm just putting a little bit in as we get some time. And I'm excited about finishing this game. I don't know that it was released to much fanfare, but it is highly rated. But there's like I think Patrick was saying about one of the games earlier. There's not a bunch of reviews on this, so it leads me to believe that there wasn't a bunch of sales, but every review is a 9 out of 10 or better. So that's my next game. And then so moving on down the list there, Patrick, what you got next?
So it may not be too much of a hidden gem, but it kind of is to the extent that I didn't even know it had came out until Nick had mentioned it to me, and Nick and I played it from start to finish. And that's Streets of Rage 4. That came out this year, and I didn't even realize it came out, and it was on Game Pass, and we played through it from start to finish, and we beat it. So it was a fun game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did not realize that it was coming out. I haven't heard a whole lot about the Streets of Rage games for quite a while, but me and Nick played through quite a bit of it. Well, we beat it. I think we beat it in like 2 sessions, didn't we, Nick, over a weekend or something like that?
Yeah, pretty sure we beat it.
Yeah. So it was a fun game, and like I said, a little hidden gem that you don't hear much about. Besides, I guess maybe what happens though a lot of times is these smaller games just get kind of buried by these AAA titles, and most people don't catch on that they came out and stuff like that. So I consider this one a hidden gem, and if you've got a co-op buddy, it's definitely worth the playthrough because this is reminiscent of the old ones. Just reminds me of all the old style arcade games, that used to play with 2 players.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun playing through it.
Yep.
Yeah,
definitely.
it definitely gave you that old school vibes, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yep, like I said, we played through it, and we sat through I think it was 2 sessions, like a Saturday and Sunday, and nobody else was on, so Nick and I played through it, and we beat it. Obviously, those games aren't very long to begin with, but it was just fun playing through it, and it was definitely a nostalgia of the old school beat 'em up arcade games, So, Nick, what else do you got for us, man?
Well, sticking with my 2020, I have stuff from beyond 2020, but I'm going to stick with 2020 and get my 2020 list done. The next one is Control. Control is made by Remedy. I don't think Remedy gets enough attention. I love this developer, everything they make, and Control is definitely one of their great games. I don't know. I mean, Control is kind of out there, I mean, it does have reviews and people that talk about it, but I just don't. I think a lot of people talk and don't actually play Control. And Control is a great game. I love Control, and pretty much anything from Remedy. I love Max Payne, Alan Wake, and this is their latest game, which is Control, and I love Control, and so I think more people should play it and play through it because I thought it was a great game, and I just don't think a lot of people played through the entirety. They might have played through the first few missions or so. But I don't think people play through the entirety of Control, and I think Control is a really great game, and people should experience it. And so, I don't know if it's necessarily a hidden gem as far as people not knowing about it, but I just don't think a lot of people played it. And that seems to be the case for Remedy in a lot of their games.
Mm-hmm.
Their games are phenomenal, and I think a lot of people know about them, they just don't play them. And that's unfortunate because you're missing out on a great developer of games.
I mean, I will say that I couldn't get into Control myself. I got it. I own it. I don't know. It was weird for me. I don't know. I played through probably a few hours of it. It was just I don't know. It was one of those games I just couldn't get into. It might have been because it was in the middle of a few other games. So that's what I have. I tend to think that a lot what happens with Remedy games is that they tend to release in between or right along some major AAA titles and they get washed out.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
they need to be a summer release specifically so they can get the game time they deserve.
Yeah, because they make some great games, and I agree with you, Patrick. I think they do release their games in a horrible time. They release them between a bunch of high-profile games that everybody's looking forward to, and they just get kind of thrown in with all the rest of it. And really, Remedy they make some awesome games. So check them out.
I remember playing it, but I remember not getting to play too much of it. And I don't even remember why I stopped playing it. I just remember playing it and going, this is kind of an interesting, weird concept for a game. And then, it looked good. It played good. It's just I don't remember why I even stopped playing it. I bet if I look back at the time this one came out, it was because something else just took my attention.
Right. Yeah, and I think that happens a lot with them. So, but for mine, Hidden Gem, Remedy, or Control by Remedy is one that for anyone that's not checked this game out should definitely do that. Check this game out. But Shane, what's your next one?
It's funny that you brought up Remedy because I was going to bring up Alan Wake. It was an Xbox Live Arcade game back 2012. And, being that it was an arcade game, it was a Remedy game, and it was a full-fledged game. That thing is fantastic. That game is so good that I actually bought the DLC for it. And I don't do DLC very often. It takes a big game to make me buy DLC. But it was fantastic. The story of it was so interesting and so it literally you're playing as a writer who's basically stuck in his own head, and it felt that way. It felt like you were playing through that type of narrative with the way the what do they call that when you voice over? God, I can't think of the term for it. Yes, and then the gameplay itself was. I thought I was going to hate because basically you weaken an enemy with the flashlight because they're the darkness. You weaken with the flashlight and then you take them out. I just loved the whole thing, and then the DLC for it was just fantastic. I mean, I couldn't name 5 games on that I bought DLC for, but I got it for this one, and it's just amazing. I love that game. Remedy does different games, different types of games, and they do those types of games well. Don't try to put Remedy into a position to do anything set and specific and generic because they'll mess it up. Let them do what Remedy does. And that's just a fantastic game that anybody who didn't get a chance to play it needs to play it.
Yeah. Alan Wake was on my list as well. And I agree 100%. Don't put Remedy in a corner.
Yeah. Nobody puts Remedy in the corner, baby.
They put themselves in the corner by releasing at bad times.
Exactly.
They do. And they have, like Remedy, every game they've made I've loved. Even to what was that one they put on the Xbox? Quantum Break. Quantum Break is a great game. Yes, besides the final boss, which was kind of a letdown, the entirety of the game is fantastic. And even Max Payne and Max Payne 2, which is also done by Remedy.
Max Payne 3, was that one Remedy?
That was Rockstar.
Okay, because that one felt different.
Yeah, because that was Rockstar. But Max Payne 1 and 2 were Remedy, and then Alan Wake and Quantum Break and Control. These are all great games. There's not one game by Remedy that, me personally, that I don't like. So, for me,
you're forgetting about their iOS game, aren't you?
Which one's that one?
Agents of Storm.
Well, I don't think I ever played that. But of course, everybody had. I don't even have an Apple, but of course, everybody. Every developer has some sort of mobile game, but and they're probably all crap. But besides mobile games, their console releases and PC releases, no matter what the developer, especially for Remedy, it's a great game. So check out Remedy's catalog. They make some fantastic games.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Russ, what's your number 4, buddy?
So again, I'm not going to go too old, not too new. This game was originally released in 2018, April 24th of 2018, and it might be a bit of a surprise because initially I kind of got annoyed with the game when I first started playing it, but then I started getting used to it, and that's Frostpunk. Frostpunk was like a city building survival game. I don't know. I just got really fascinated within that game, the complexity of making sure you build the areas in the right spot, making sure the warm spots were where you needed to do. I enjoyed it much more on the PC than I did on the Xbox. I think that's probably half of what it was. I think it was able to download on the PC, so I got on the PC and I played it quite a few hours on that. And I mean, I got a couple of really good sized cities. I enjoyed that game quite a bit. I never did get the expansion, but I did play quite a bit. I thought that was an a good show of like how a hidden gem can work. Like you look at this game and you're like, oh man, this is just another city builder. It's just this, but there's some things to deal with when you're dealing with your population, making sure they're fed, making sure they're warm, all those things that can have been in other games, but it was just different enough to be different. And then the storyline and stuff like that was pretty well written as well. So that's my number 4 hidden gem. And like I said, it's not quite. I played it this year. I've been a little bit behind on games, so I know it released in 2018. But for me this year, that was a hidden gem. That was something that I found this year that I really enjoyed.
I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call that hidden gem. I mean, they sold like a lot of copies of it. Like, I think they've sold almost 2 million copies by now, and they've even made a board game out of it. It's that popular.
Well, for me, I didn't know
game,
anything
though.
about it until this
Oh,
year,
yeah.
so that's why I say for me,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it was something I didn't really know about or hear about because I had been kind of absent there for a little bit. And so when I finally got back, getting back into my gaming, that was one of those first ones that I picked that I was like, oh wow, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
a
yeah,
good
I mean,
game.
It's highly rated, everywhere. And
I like that. I like that game too. That game's hard, but man,
It does
it's
get
good.
hard towards the end.
I've
And
seen it, but I have yet to try to play it.
Well, you'll get to play the board game because I kickstarted the board game. So
Sweet. Yeah, now we just got to be able to actually play a dang board game together.
yeah, well, you guys got to stop getting sick.
Well, I got cancer.
COVID's
I
gotta
can't
go away.
stop that, but I can stay away from COVID.
COVID's got to go away.
All right. What about you, Pat? What's your number 4?
So I'm gonna pick this game, and it came out last year, and it's just because I can't even get my own group of friends to play this game, which I'm sure you guys have played it. But it's a game that came out this year that I couldn't put down, and it's just not got. I mean, it's not usually whenever you look in the reviews, it doesn't get a whole lot of reviews, a lot of people voting on it or anything. But it was Maneater, the game with the shark. I don't know why why a lot of people didn't play it. It was this campy, weird little shark game where you eat everything, and I'm like, oh, this is like the old school, just like Munchers type game, and that's what it reminded me of. And it's just got the storyline is all campy, and the narrative is hilarious. And you're just a shark, and you're upgrading your shark so you can eat more and bigger things and do more damage. I thought this was a great game that came out this year. I played it from start to end, couldn't put it down until I beat it. I beat the story on it and all that stuff, the different zones. Did any guys play that game?
Nope, I'm
No,
still waiting for it to go on sale.
Yeah, I've been
On
waiting
sale.
for
I
price
mean, it's
drop.
been on for like sale for $25, but I'm waiting for it to go a little bit lower than that before I pick it up.
Right.
I've had
Jay-
it installed 3 times, I think, and haven't started it.
It's just great. I mean, you're just a shark eating people and things and upgrading your shark so he's more of an alpha predator and stuff like that. It's a really great game, and it's just a simple single-player time waster game, in my opinion. And it's just long enough that it's just long enough to where once you start to feel like it's getting repetitive, it just ends, and you're like, all right, this game was long enough, long as it needed to be. So fun game there. Like I said, just kind of a weird little time killer game. I don't think it fared too well in the reviews. I think it did average in the 70s and stuff
Yeah, I
like
got
that.
moderate reviews or average
Yeah.
reviews. Yeah.
But in all honesty, I think it was a great game. I mean, I got it right when it came out because it looked funny, and I'd watched a few trailers, and it's really good. I highly recommend anybody that just likes those time waster games to get it. It's pretty hilarious. Jaws, Jaws in the video game. All right, Nick, what do you got next for us, man?
Well, the last one I have for 2020, and I think it might be a little bit of controversy between the group, is a game that got pretty highly rated, but I just don't think a lot of people will go out and experience it, which is Call of the Sea. We reviewed this game. Me and Patrick really love this game. And, like I said, it got really good reviews. I just think a lot of people will probably kind of overlook this game and kind of not check it out, and I think they should. I think this is a hidden gem of towards the end of 2020 that came out, and yeah, this game was a lot of fun. It was a really good puzzle game and really good story, and I think just a lot of people will probably pass it up just because of the looks, maybe the graphics or the artistry, that 1950s kind of look to it, where a lot of people may not play it. But I think you really should. I think this game is really good and a lot of fun. And, I think a lot of people will probably pass it up just because of that, even with the good ratings that it's gotten. And I think people should go back and check it out, especially right now it's on Game Pass. So, why not? But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. If you got Game
God,
Pass,
I fell asleep again just hearing about it.
Yeah, it
so boring.
It doesn't get a lot of reviews. It doesn't, but the reviews that it does get are always highly rated.
Right. So yeah, I mean, my last one for 2020 is Call of Duty. I think that one just, it's a good game. It really is, and I just don't think it will get the praise or the the play from the players as much as some of the other titles that came out, especially coming out toward the end of the year when the new, Series X and the PlayStation 5 and all those games that came out and things like this. This is a Series X compatible game. I think it only came out on the Series X and PC, but and the Xbox One, I believe. But it is Series X upgraded in some sense. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. So if you have an Xbox or a PC, you should definitely check it out. I think it's a good one that you should check out.
Especially if you have problems sleeping.
Yeah,
it was very good for my sleeping issues. I put me right down.
Yeah, Shane, he had to tuck away his NyQuil because this game put him to sleep.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, it was the turkey of video games. It was so sleepy. But what's funny is we split that booger right down the middle. You and Pat loved it. Me and Russ, we woke up, it was still on. But it's that's one of those things where I can say, yeah, it's a good game because if you two like it and you two can agree on it, then it's a good game. It's just not my game.
Right. What's your next one?
My next one, I honestly, I can't remember if it sold well or not, but Dragon's Dogma. I don't believe that one got the praise and the hype that it deserved. It was Capcom, right? If I remember right. RPG?
Yep, Capcom.
And it was fantastic. It started off just a little bit, and then it just immediately picked up. I mean, you're literally fighting this giant freaking dragon, 1 minute, and the next minute, you're climbing up a freaking cyclops, stabbing him in the eye. It's just the monsters in it are fantastic. The combat in it is, it's an action-based RPG. The storyline in it's fantastic. You do your whole create a character thing, which is kind of typical, which is fine. But the story on it was solid. What made it really interesting was as you create I believe they called it a paladin, a side character that your buddy can, borrow and bring into his game to help him out and do things and then he builds up XP there. And vice versa. You can, charge and rent out your character to random people online. It was fantastic. Or you could rent one out too. It's just, if you got the money, rent you out a high level. You're a 12, but you want to go do some really high level stuff for a little bit. If you got the bank, you can rent out a high level character to bring with you and help take up some of that damage. That game was fantastic. I really want to see a sequel to it. I actually got another game that I actually bought DLC for, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Absolutely every bit of it. The game should have should have got more praise in it than it did. If I remember right, the reviews were fairly mixed on it, but I honestly cannot remember that far back because it's not that old, though. I think it was 2012, 2013, so it's not terribly old. But it was a fantastic game. It deserves a sequel. There is a HD remaster, kind of a cheap remaster, but there is an HD remaster on Xbox, so you can check it out, and I highly recommend you do.
Leave it to
That's
Shane.
what I say.
Leave it to
Yeah.
Shane to pick a game, and his selling point is you get to whore out your partner.
Yeah, that was one of the mechanics of it. Yeah, I didn't put this game on my list, but I would agree with you, Shane. This game was a hidden gem. I love Dragon's Dogma. It's one of my favorite, especially for Capcom. It's one of my favorite Capcom games, which I love a lot of Capcom games. But
Yeah, there's a lot of Capcom games, kind of like Remedy, except for without the solid,
Right.
solidness
And
to that.
Dragon's
that get
Dogma was one of
overshadowed.
those one of those ones that they just kind of almost like one of those experimental ones where they just kind of came out with it and say, like, how well does this do? And yeah, that game was fantastic, and I don't think it got quite the reception it should have because I agree, it should have a second one.
I never played it, so
I think you should. I think it's actually on Game Pass right now.
right. But I'm
It
a graphics snob. And
was.
it's from 2012, so
I know you're a dirty graphics snob, but you're missing out. You really are. I think you should just suck it up, Buttercup, and give it a whirl.
maybe if I ever get any time, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah, time has been a real issue lately. All right, Russ, what do you got, buddy? What is your next one?
Well, I'm just going to go with my theme of like games that I've played this year that I kind of find out of nowhere. And again, I'm not 100% sure on the talking about this, the reviews and everything like that. I just know that for a game that I normally don't find interesting, the Banner Saga, I really found that that was a really fun game. I think that was the very first. And remind me of the play style. It's kind of like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that, and things like that, where you're like, it's kind of like Gloomhaven, where you make your move, then you can make your action and stuff. It's kind of the first game that I've ever played in that style.
Yeah, it's like a party-based RPG, strategy RPG.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, I put a good 7-8 hours into it, and I actually still have it installed. And if I could get used to some of the mechanics of it, I'd probably play a lot more. But I really like this story. It's kind of a Viking Age story. I really enjoyed that. So that's a big surprise for me, a hidden gem for me, because I normally don't like these kind of games. I normally don't get very passionate about playing these kind of games. Usually I need something to kind of keep my interest a little bit quicker. But this one here, I've been quite patient with and played through a little bit and look to play more of it as time goes through. But that's again, even though I know it's probably an older game, it was found this year for me, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, that reminds me of what's that other game, Nick, that you recommended that's very similar to the turn-based strategic combat like that. I can't remember what it was called now. Battle Chasers. That's what it was. I don't know why.
Yeah, Battle Chasers.
Yeah,
that's another. I mean, yeah, that's another game that I think I played this year as well. That I played quite a bit of too. So this was a different year for us in the RPG, the different styles of RPGs for sure that I played in the past. I enjoyed that one quite a bit too. I actually beat that one. I think I'd have to go back and remember, but I played quite a bit this year.
Yeah, it's all about that
Nice.
party-based strategy game. Those are kind of fun.
Pat?
Well, and what about you,
Oh.
Pat?
I am gonna pick a game that Nick recommended that I play that I really was not interested in because, as I've admitted many times before, I'm a graphics snob, and it's a game that came out this year. And the only reason I played it was because it was on Game Pass, and it was Carrion. That game is like
yes.
Yep, that's a reverse horror game. I mean, really, you're the bad guy. You're the creature, the thing that goes bump in the night, and you're killing people and eating people. It's really fun game. I mean, At first I was like, this looks like garbage, and then the more you play and the more you expand and the levels and the different ways of killing the people, I'm like, this is kind of fun. You stalk and kill humans along this facility path. So I really enjoyed Carrion, and I actually played it because of a recommendation of Nick. I wasn't that interested in it, and Nick told me about it. Nick seems to find these weird games on Game Pass that turn out to be really, really good. Because I was trying to remember another game, and I could not remember the name of it. Nick, the King, was it Kingdom? What was that Kingdoms game?
Oh,
like the Two
side
Crowns or whatever?
scrolly thing.
Kingdom's
yeah.
Two Crowns.
Yeah, that was another one that I played at your recommendation, and they're just hidden gems. Like a lot of people won't even play them, and I wouldn't have played them because both of these games look like 8-bit games. You look like retro style games when you look at them. They're all the old school side scrolling and retro look to them, the blocky retro look.
Yeah,
So
they
those-
were both fantastic.
Yeah, so the Two Crowns game, that game was really good. And Nick, you and I played that one together quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because Nick
Yeah,
was,
that game was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was really fun, especially with friends, because it's really hard by yourself, especially once your wall gets longer and longer and longer.
Yeah, that game definitely had some really, really just odd and interesting things going on with it. I was really surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. Because me and Nick, we played the crap out of it.
Yep. I think all of us played with Nick. Nick played the game so many times so he could play with us on it.
Yeah, that
So-
game was a lot of fun.
Well, cool. Nick, what else you got for us on your list, man?
Well, so I got a lot. So that's all the ones I had for 2020, but I got a lot for older games. So I'm going to go kind of two at a time so I can kind of get through them a little quicker. So the first one is Alpha Protocol. Alpha Protocol is a game made by Obsidian. It's a spy-based game. And this game, it had a lot of bugs. I don't think it got a lot of... it had a lot of bugs and glitches. So I don't think it got very high scores. But it's a really good game. I like the story and everything. I mean, you play a spy who almost plays like Archer or... it's kind of like a mixture of like 007 and Archer and all those kind of funny spy, movies and stuff like that, along with kind of seriousness too. So, this is kind of like it is an RPG, action RPG, because when you fight, it's not RPG style. It's more like a third-person action. But the story and things like that kind of play out RPG-ish. So Alpha Protocol is, I mean, you can probably pick this game up for nothing anymore. It's usually on sale all the time. You probably pick it up for like $1 or $2 out on Steam when they go on sale. But it has a lot of bugs and a lot of glitches. But if you can get through those, and I'm probably sure there's probably a lot of modifications and various things like that mods have done to kind of fix a lot of the bugs and stuff that you could download. This game is really good. It's a really good game. So, Alpha Protocol. And then for my second one, just kind of, like I said, to kind of get through my list a little bit quicker because I have a pretty long list, is Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs came out in, I think, the 360 era. And it was kind of like Grand Theft Auto and kind of like, kind of Driver and kind of like, I can't remember the other game, Dead to Rights. I think it was the other one. It was kind of like those games, but it was really good. I think it got a lot of reception, got really good scores around the time. I just don't think a lot of people played it. I think it came out towards the end of the 360 lifespan, so then the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 were coming out, and so it kind of got lost in the mix. But Sleeping Dogs is another game that I think it is backwards compatible in the Xbox One, so you can play it there. But also it is on PC, and it's a fairly cheap game, but it's a really good game. So both of these games are fairly cheap, easy to find, and really good games that you should not sleep on. So,
Yep.
Alpha Protocol and Sleeping Dogs.
I played and beat Sleeping Dogs. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yep. So those are two. I'll go with those two, and then I'll do two more when my time comes around. But Shane, what do you got?
Well, I only got two left, so I'm just going to give one now, and I'll throw one later. Remnant from the Ashes. I don't know how well it sold. I do know that we put a ton of time in it. The game is an absolute co-op blast. I couldn't tell you a bit of the story. I can tell you that everything we played that was just fun as heck. The weapons, the characters, the powers that you get, the enemies are cool. I mean, everything about this game is just absolute fun. I think it was you, Nick, that brought this one up, which is typically you that bring all the games up that we don't know about. And this thing is fantastic. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many hours we put into it. I know that I've never been able to beat it because every time we go into it with a 3-player to beat it, we can never seem to make it work. But the game was a real surprise to me that I enjoyed it as much as I have. It's a melee combat, it's a shooter, it's RPG. It's just a freaking blast of a game. I mean, I don't think anybody here can really complain about it.
Yeah, I almost put that on my list, and I meant to, and I forgot. That game is great.
Yep. Yeah, we played through quite a few times. We've even tried some of the new content.
Yep, which is hard as hell.
Yeah. And me and Nick have actually beat it twice, and once for him and once for me.
Yeah. And every time we tried it with me, the game would not let us beat the damn thing.
The game didn't like you, apparently.
Yeah. It did not. It was like, he ain't beating nothing.
We even tried it with just me and you because we had like you said, Shane, we had a hard time with 3 people, so we just tried it with like just me and you. I think it was just me and you tried to beat the boss and still had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Shane is always just fodder. He's our fodder guy.
Yeah.
It's like, go get Shane. Sick Shane. We'll beat on him while you're chasing Shane around.
You know what? That's all right. I have my role. All right, Russ, what about you, buddy?
Again, this is an older game for me, and it's probably one of the first true RPG games that I played beyond Final Fantasy VIII, and that's Saga Frontier 2. I don't remember how well this sold. I just know that at the time of release, I was stationed in Korea, and I just got me a PlayStation, and it had come out, and I was like, well, I want to try something different. Let me try this. And it's a turn-based game. It was one of the very first turn bases I really played beyond Final Fantasy VIII, which, I think Final Fantasy VIII came in, 98, 97?
97, I believe.
Something like that. So it was like this is my second true blue RPG. The story was so much fun. The main characters in there, I've slept a little bit. So it's been a minute, but I remember getting Saga Frontier 2 and really enjoying that game and loving that. I'm sure Nick's probably played it 47 times.
Yep, I love Saga Frontier.
And it's an easy pick too because it's a Square game. It's a Square Enix game, or I think at that time they were Squaresoft or whatever. But it is still all that. But it's something I remember. It's one of those things that I remember. When I grabbed it, I was like, I don't know why I'm going to spend $50 on this, but I'm going to try it anyway and see. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. The combat was a little bit different than what I was used to, but when we look at games and we talk about games that are, hidden gems, maybe for you guys because of the amount of games you play, it's hidden gems of what nobody knew. But more, when I think of a hidden gem, especially when it comes to the past, it's games that I surprisingly really, really enjoyed when I didn't expect to. So I guess maybe I'm looking at it more a little bit introspectively than most. But Pat, what about you? What's the next one on your list?
So I'm going to pick a game from this year that maybe not a lot of people have played, and it was it seems to get okay reviews, but not a whole lot of reviews. When I was looking for reviews to see if I wanted to play it or not, I couldn't finally find any. And it's Yes, Your Grace. So I don't know if anybody's played that, but it's like a kingdom management simulator with a story behind it. It's really, really fun. It's really kind of a casual kingdom builder, if you will. I mean, it's not a whole lot to manage. It's a lot of story and a lot of just cool, neat little features in a game. I thought it was really good. I don't know if anybody here's played it or not. It's from this year.
I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
Yep, it was on one of those games that I just tried on a whim, and I'm like, a little small game that doesn't take a whole lot of time and a whole lot of thought. But it's basically a kingdom management RPG, if you want to think of it that way. And basically, parishioners come to your throne and ask for patience or ask for advice and stuff like that. So, it's kind of an interesting concept. It kind of reminds me of some of the other choice and consequences game with medieval storytelling. So definitely should check that one out. And that's from this year. It's a little hidden gem, I would consider, because I couldn't find hardly anything on it when I was trying to decide if I wanted to get it and play it or not. So that was a good one. Nick, what else do you got now? You said your list is pretty long, huh?
Yeah. So the next two I have are first one is Hellblade. Hellblade is a game that came out. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people. It has kind of a following, but I don't think a lot of people played it. And Hellblade, the first one, they have a second one coming out at some point, but this first Hellblade, it's a great game. Just the audio portion of Hellblade is phenomenal, or let alone the game itself. It's a great game. So what is it? Senua's Saga, right? Or is that the second one?
Hellblade Senua's Saga is the first one. Then the new one coming up is Hellblade. Oh crap! You had to bring that up. Now it's going to drive me nuts.
I feel like it's very unfair right now because I literally scratched that off my list because I got railed a minute ago for picking one that seemed to be pretty popular, and that game I thought was a pretty popular game.
Senua's Sacrifice is the first one.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it's popular or not. I feel like it's popular, but I feel like a lot of people probably didn't play it. I think it's popular by word of mouth more than it is play.
It sold over 1 million copies within the first year it was out. I mean, that's pretty popular for video games.
But I do agree with you. In any case, Nick, it is an amazing game.
Yeah, for sure. It is an amazing game. So if you haven't played it, you should play it.
And if you do play it with headphones.
Play it with headphones, yeah. It's a great game.
I mean, it's doing so well, they're doing a second one, like you said.
For sure. Yeah, and it's by a great company. Who's the company again? I'm just dogging on the name.
You had to say it. I can't remember.
Ninja Theory, right? Yeah, Ninja Theory. Yeah. So Ninja Theory is a great company. And so, I'm really looking forward to the second one. Hellblade. And for my second one in my list is Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon came out on the 360. It was made by Mistwalker. The graphical character design and enemy design was made by the Dragon Ball artist. I can't think of his name. The guy does all the Dragon Ball movies and shows and games and various things like that. It did the artistry for this game. It was an RPG, open world RPG, Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon is a great game. I just don't think a lot of people played it back then, and they should have because it's probably one of the 360s, not the greatest. I'll get to the greatest, but one of the greatest RPGs on the 360, Blue Dragon. So, and Absolutely. I think that game is backwards compatible on the Xbox One. So, if you have an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X, go buy it. It's worth it. Play through it. It's a fantastic game.
Yep, absolutely. That was a launch game, was it not?
No, it was not a launch game. I don't believe. But it was. No, I don't think it was a launch game for the 360, but it was. I think it came out like a year or two after the 360 launch, so it was close to its launch period, but it wasn't a launch game. But it is made by Miss Walker, which I have some other Miss Walker games on this list. Yeah, Blue Dragon is a great game. Again, it's on the Xbox One. It's backwards compatible. Go download it. Go buy it. It's a great game.
Yeah.
So, Shane, what's your next one?
All right. Well, my last one on my list is Max Curse of the Brotherhood. It's kind of a out of my realm type game. It's and I enjoy platformers, but it's a puzzle platformer. The art style is just wow. It's such a beautiful, beautiful game. Very cartoonish game. Somebody kidnaps your annoying little brother and takes him off to this weird little world, and you follow along, and then you have this magic marker that helps you get from level to level. And as you progress, you get more abilities, more powers, and whatnot. The story is freaking hilarious. The character designs are fantastic. The enemies are hilarious. But it was one, I can't remember why I started playing it, but I got it for one of the kids. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it a try now. And I freaking love this game. It's so fun, and it's just absolutely even now. This came out I don't know 6 years ago, I guess, or more. And even now, it's still absolutely a gorgeous game. Just beautiful, beautiful game. But it's just fun. It really is a fun game. If you like puzzles and you're okay with some platforming stuff, you'll love it. You really will. I couldn't tell you who made it right off the top of my head, but I do know that it was an Xbox game studio. So, but it's fantastic. You should give it a try, especially if you got kids, and they'll love it. My son loved it. My girls, they couldn't care less, but I don't like them as much as my son. So, but the game's great. Highly recommend it. What about you, Russ? You got anything else on your plate?
Maybe just an honorable mention. In actuality, Nick kind of took the one that was going to kind of get me over the top with our list here, but and I don't know if I want to even mention this game because I feel I'm going to get railed a little bit for it, but like it's a very old game, but I feel like this game during that genre, I know it's got a couple of titles to it, but I feel like this is one of those games that I would have thought to never play at that age, and I tried it, and it like just changed my life. And maybe it's also cheating because it's like Doom in space, and it's and that's Descent. The first Descent I thought was kind of like, but I think everybody who was really a PC gamer played it. But for me, when I first found it, I was like just enamored by that game, and so it's just kind of maybe it's more of an honorable mention and a kind of helping finish out the list type of game, but it's definitely not necessarily a hidden gem, because if you're a gamer, you pretty much know what you should know. I mean, everybody here knows what Descent is, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Love Descent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe that was a game for a different podcast, but I feel like that was like one of those games where me personally, I wouldn't probably never tried, but when I tried it, I was like addicted, and like 17 hours later, and I didn't even know what my name was. So, but in any case, that pretty much ends up that ends my list for those. So I'll send it to Pat and let them finish it out.
So, yep, I've got a game from this year. Actually, no, it's not this year. Sorry, it's a couple years ago. And it was something I just found on Game Pass, and it was Deliver Us the Moon. It's a little story type adventure game. It was, I'm a big puzzle / I like puzzle games, especially if it's like something I can do while I'm not engrossed in a really heavy game. And I wouldn't consider this heavy. It's kind of a mystery puzzle game where you're trying to figure out what happened to the people on the abandoned station and on the abandoned moon station, stuff like that. Video game. So like I said, it's a puzzle game, I would probably say it's a puzzle / simulator / action game, or not action, but more adventure. There's not a whole lot of action in there, but it's like reading a story and interacting in the story. And it was a really good game. Not a whole lot of reviews on it, but every review that it does get, it's always in the upper 90 percentile. So I think, Steam gave it pretty high reviews. GameStop did. I think Metacritic is giving it an okay, but even on Steam, it's in the 90. It's in the 80. It's always in the upper 80s or lower 90s as far as the reviews go. And the reviews are pretty low. Good game if you like story and puzzle style video games. So definitely worth a check if you like that type of stuff. I don't know how big your list is left, Nick, but I've got a few on there as well. So I'll pass it back over to you to give us what's next on your list.
All right. Yeah, Deliver Us to the Moon is on my list to play eventually.
Yep.
So,
so many games, not enough time.
Right. So the next two that I have is one is the best RPG ever created. Ever. My opinion.
Oh, let me guess. Can I guess?
Yeah, I guess.
Barbie.
No, not Barbie.
No,
Lost Odyssey.
I knew you were going to say Lost Odyssey. I remember when that game came out, I've never heard you brag and gloat and gush on any game, all the years we've known each other, on any game like you did that game.
Yeah, Lost Odyssey it came out on Xbox 360 by Mistwalker, again, same people that made Blue Dragon. Lost Odyssey doesn't have it didn't have the same artist, the Dragon Ball artist that did the Blue Dragon. Lost Odyssey is my all-time favorite RPG. I put so many hours in that game. I mean, every character was level 99. I did everything in that game. That game was so much fun. I love that game to death, and still love it to this day. It is backwards compatible on the Xbox One, so you can download it and buy it on there and get and play it. I think it's the best RPG ever, and I don't think it was played enough. I think everyone should experience Lost Odyssey. So Lost Odyssey is my next one, as well as a game that came out on 360. I think it came out on the early life cycle of 360, which is Eternal Sonata. Eternal Sonata is made by the same people that make the Tales games, like Tales of whatever. They make Namco, I think it is, that makes a bunch of the Tales games. You've probably seen a lot of those. Tales of, what was the last one? Tales of Baristia or whatever it was.
Basaria, yeah.
Yeah, Basaria. They made a game called Eternal Sonata, which was about musicians, or not musicians. I'm sorry. Musicians. Musicians like Mozart and Beethoven and various things like that. And it was an RPG about them, really. The characters in there were named Mozart and Beethoven and different musicians, classical musicians. And it was an RPG, and where you played different musical instruments and various things like that. And it was a really great story. So Eternal Sonata, I don't know if that one is backwards compatible or not. I don't think it is, but it should be, because it was a great game. It was a great 360 game and a great RPG. So I don't know if a lot of people played that one, because I think most people will probably be into the Tales series, because that's a more popular series by them, by Namco and their RPGs that they make. But Eternal Sonata was kind of like a side. It kind of fell in line of the Tales series as far as how the combat and the RPG went, but a totally different story and various things like that. So Eternal Sonata is my second one on that list. So, Pat, what else you got?
All right, so I've got one from this year, and it was kind of a cute little game that I picked up on. This one might have been Game Pass, called Spiritfarer. I'd actually come across it looking for a game because I was bored, and it turned out to be a really good game. It came out this year, like around August. It's kind of a weird little sim management game, sandbox style, where you're basically a fairy. You're a fairy master. You've taken over for a deceased fairy master. Fairy master dies in the beginning of the game, and you take over for him. And you're on a boat, and you basically befriend spirits and ferry them to the afterlife. It's an interesting and at some point emotionally sad type game, but it's definitely one that kind of teaches you about life and death and stuff like that. And it's a game about dying, is what it is a game about. And you explore the world on your boat, and you meet spirits, and you bring them on your boat. You take care of them, and then you ferry them to the afterlife. So it's an interesting kind of sim management game. It was so good that I actually downloaded it and let my daughter play, and she really enjoyed it. It got to the part where she was a little confused on what to do because it's probably a little bit more advanced than what she is used to playing, but I thought it was a really good game. And Spiritfarer came out this year. You guys, Nick, you play that one?
I did, yeah. And especially, for that game, is actually what you said. If you have daughters, this is definitely the game for them. It's a cutesy, fun little game. And if you have a daughter that you want to play games with, this is a perfect game to pick.
Yep. It was a good game. I've only got 3 left on my list. What do you got left on yours, Nick?
I got quite a few, so I'll go through. I'll go through the next 4, and then you can do yours, and then I'll do the last. The next few I have are a couple of Wii games. First one is Mad World. Mad World was on the Wii. I don't know if any of you remember Mad World. It was kind of like Shane,
the black and white one.
Yeah,
black and white art style. It was everything seemed to be hand drawn. Yeah, it was really stupidly weird that it
like
just
you
made
push
it,
people through like the crusher and stuff like that. You
Yeah,
throw people into like different death traps.
it was so stupidly weird that it made it that much more interesting to play because like how far does this game go? And that game it was a surprising blast. I mean, if you still got a Wii somewhere, man, go pick it up. It can't be that much.
Yeah, Mad World was pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty much like you were like, I don't know, it was set in like, it was kind of like where you were like a criminal or something like that, and it was kind of like Mad Max style where you would fight in an arena, but you could put 3 people through like, crushers and like, little chainsaw areas and things that would chop people up and take their heads off and arms, limbs, and everything, blood flowing everywhere. It was a gruesome game. But it was a lot. It was a lot of fun, and kind of in that vein of games, we have Manhunt. I think Manhunt and Manhunt 2, I kind of throw them together, were a game by Rockstar that I really wish would come back. I loved Manhunt, and that game was gruesome and cruel, and it kind of had some controversy around the time that it came out. But we have way more games nowadays that are way worse than that, but at the time Manhunt was really cool. So yeah, Manhunt is a pretty cool game, and I think one that just didn't get enough attention that Rockstar probably won't make another sequel to. I mean, hopefully they will, but I doubt it. But Manhunt is a pretty cool game. The next one I have is Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive was it was an Xbox One game that came out towards the beginning of Xbox One, made by people that made Ghost of Tsushima, Sucker Punch. So Sunset Overdrive is a great game. Open world, sandbox, go around, kill people. It has objectives and it has a story and things like that. You can grind on rails or like power lines and stuff like that, and you kill enemies, and you bounce all around, and you have crazy, kooky weapons and stuff. Sunset Overdrive was a great game. I really wish they'd make a sequel to Sunset Overdrive. I doubt they will now that they're owned by Sony. So we'll probably never see a sequel to this game, but Sunset Overdrive was a great game.
I thought am I thinking of the wrong game? I thought Sunset Overdrive was Insomniac Games. So,
was it Insomniac?
Yeah, I thought that was Insomniac. I was just gonna say because I thought that one was the one that was on that came out on like Xbox. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was an Xbox game. It was Insomniac. Yeah, it was Insomniac. My bad. I'm sorry.
all
It
right, cool.
wasn't
I was
Sucker
just like,
Punch.
I was like, wait a minute, they only they don't do.
But I think didn't Sony buy Insomniac, or is Insomniac still open? I thought they bought them.
I don't know if they bought them or not. I thought they were still around, but you know I could be wrong.
Because they made
Maybe-
the Immortal games
actually-
on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think you are right. I can't remember, but yeah, maybe they're their parent company here now, so you might be right on that one. Which
Yeah,
means we definitely
I
won't get
want to
another one.
say that Sony bought them or bought the parent company for them, so they're no longer be able to make games, outside of Sony products.
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully not. I was wrong about the Sucker Punch. Sorry about that. But but I'm pretty sure Insomniac is owned by Sony now, or the parent company that owns Insomniac is.
I think you're right because didn't they do the isn't Insomniac part of the Miles Morales? Didn't they do Miles Morales?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I think they're the ones who were part of the Miles Morales thing with Sony.
Yeah, they
which
did.
would make sense.
Yeah. They did Spider-Man and Miles Morales, so I'm pretty sure Sony picked them up.
Yep.
So we'll probably not see a Sunset Overdrive again, unfortunately. That was a really good game. And then the last one I have, or not the last one on my list, but the last one before we go back to Patrick, is The Flame and the Flood. I think me and Patrick played The Flame and the Flood, and that's a really good game.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game, and so I don't think a lot of people played it. So yeah, I mean, it was on Game Pass. I don't think it is anymore, though.
Yeah, I don't think so neither. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting concept. You upgrade a raft and float down a river and stop at these little places and look at things and gather materials to upgrade your little boat that you made, stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Crafting.
Yeah, and it had a pretty good little soundtrack too to it. So, yeah, The Flame and the Flood. I think it's a pretty cheap game though, so probably wouldn't be too easy or too hard to pick it up.
Yep, that's a good one. I like that one.
What about you, Pat?
So I've got 3 left, and I'll just kind of run through them really quick. One of them probably doesn't really belong on the list, and I'll start with that one just because it's not really fully released, and we played it on Game Preview, and it was Grounded. We all played Grounded. It's not a lot of people have played it. Unless you're in a decent gaming group or you game quite a bit, not a lot of people that play games that I know of outside of our little group have heard of it. And it's a really good game, and we put quite a few hours into it. And once it's fully fleshed out, I'm sure we'll go back to it and put some more time in it. And it was also one of our very first early game reviews when we started podcasting. So it was a good one.
Yeah, it's really sad that people haven't played that game because that's a really good game. People should really check that game out. That's a really good survival, co-op survival game.
Yep, it's basically a spin on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids survival game.
Yeah, it's really good though. I mean,
really good.
Obsidian did that one, and Obsidian's a great company, and they did a really good job on this one. So. Yep,
and that would actually be my last one for 2020. Another one that I'll put out there. It's probably a little bit more popular now than when it first came out, but Disco Elysium. That game was weirdly fun and interesting. I don't know. That game just kind of just sucks you in because it's so extremely weird. I waited for so long for it to go on sale because it never seemed to go on sale. And then it finally went on sale one time and I bought it and I played through it. And it's a really, really cool narrative game. And they're doing a remaster of it or a remake when it's going to be fully voiced over. And I kind of want to play the fully voiced version because there is a lot of reading in this game.
Yeah, for sure. That was one I picked up as soon as it came out too. I think I paid full price for that one because I bought it when it first came out. But yeah, it's a really good game.
I was worried about how much reading it was involved in, and I have to be in the mood to play a game that has a lot of dialogue that I have to read. So I waited, and when I got it, it was definitely worth it. I played the mess out of it. And then the last one on my list is one that I had played earlier in this year. It didn't come out this year. It came out like 2017 or 2018 or something like that. and it was a hard one. I was having a hard time remembering the title was, and it was the Red Strings Club. The Red Strings Club is like a futuristic cyberpunk style gaming. It's kind of a point and click adventure game. It's basically a game about experiencing fate and stuff like that, and extensive use of like bartending, and I don't know how to explain it. It's an anti-corporation type game. If you play it through, you'll understand there's like you're a hacker, a freelance hacker, and you can basically you mix drinks to get people to talk to you, and you by mixing the drinks, you kind of got to tailor the drink to their mood that you want to enhance, so that you can ask them questions related to that mood, and hopefully they'll answer it because you're kind of like I said, you're a freelance hacker slash detective, and you play part of the game as an AI entity who installs behavioral type mods in people, and eventually the AI becomes rebellious, and say there's a guy coming in and he's wants to be more assertive so he can be further his career on the board. Well, you go in and you sabotage it and you make him more mousy or more, just it's a really, I don't know how else to explain it besides it's just a very gratifying game to play. It's got a lot of really good writing. It's just the scenes are pretty good. It's a very retro looking game if you play it. It's usually not inside my wheelhouse. And I just played this game on a whim.
I do like really retro.
Good. Yeah, it's pixel graphics,
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's like a cyberpunk style S game, and I don't know how else to explain it, but it's really good. It doesn't get a whole lot of play and a whole lot of review. You can pick it up for usually like $15. It's not a very long game either, so definitely one you should pick out. And it's a hidden gem that I really wasn't expecting to like. I was just looking for something because I was bored on Steam one day, and I think when I got it, it may have been on sale for like $10 or $8 or something like that on a Steam sale. And I'm like, why not? It looks interesting. It comes up as you might like this game type thing. So it's a very, like I said, it's a very story heavy adventure game with some interesting concepts and twists in it. So definitely check that one out if you like story rich games and adventure. And if you're into the cyberpunkish type gameplay, it's definitely one you should take down.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So Nick, what you got left on your list, man?
So I got 4 left on my list, so I'll go through them real quick here. The first one is Papers, Please. I don't know how many people played Papers, Please. I mean, it did get some kind of, talk around the internets about this game, but I don't know how many people played it. But this game is super fun. It's just super weird, and it's pixelated. It's kind of like old school looking, but it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't checked out Papers, Please, you could probably pick it up for nothing nowadays, but it's still a fun game. It's just weird.
I played that one.
Yeah, and then the next 2 are Wii titles that I haven't played, but I really want to. These were titles that, even for me being a hidden gem, they kind of came out towards the end of the Wii period, and these games are kind of hard to find. I mean, they're kind of expensive, they're kind of collectibles, and kind of difficult to pick up. And I just think that because they came out around the end of the Wii period, and they're just hard to find and kind of expensive. But the first one is The Last Story. And The Last Story is an RPG, and it is also made by Mistwalker, who made Blue Dragon: Lost Odyssey. It is a Wii game. It only came out for the Wii. And that one is almost impossible to find. I mean, the only place I've found it so far is on eBay. It's about $150 complete. So, with the case and and manual and stuff like that. But it got really good ratings. It got almost a 10, I think a 9 something when it came out. But it just came out towards the end of the Wii, so I don't think it got a lot of look at during that time. Another one is Pandora's Tower. Pandora's Tower is not as expensive. It's about maybe a $30 game or less. So it's not as difficult to find, but still you're going to have to look at probably eBay to find it. And it's made by Xseed, who make a lot of weird RPG games, but supposedly this one's pretty good. Again, it's an RPG. It's a pretty good game that I've heard. This is not one I played, but I really want to. Again, this was a game that came out towards the Wii's, the end of the Wii life, which sometimes some really good RPGs or some really good games in general come out towards the end of the life of a console. And these two that I just talked about are two that did come out towards the end of the life of this console, the Wii, that supposedly were really good. And the last one I have is a game that came out on the Xbox One. I don't think it came out last year. I think it came out a couple years ago, but it is an RPG. It was on Game Pass. I don't think it's on Game Pass anymore, but it is on Steam. And I think it is a pretty cheap game regardless nowadays, because the publisher or developer that made this game is no longer around because of some controversy or something like that. But that is Indivisible. Indivisible, again, is another RPG. It's all hand-drawn, voice-acted. It's a great RPG. I know me and Shane played it when it was on Game Pass. I don't think we beat it. I don't think either of us beat it, but we played quite a bit of it, and we really liked it. And I think it's off of Game Pass now. But Indivisible is, again, an RPG, kind of turn-based RPG. But it has some kind of different functions on the turn-based. You can kind of do some extra actions and various things like that. It's all fully voiced, all hand-drawn, really nice, really good-looking, like platformer RPG, turn-based RPG game. It's a really cool game. So I don't think a lot of people were able to experience Indivisible. And again, I believe due to some controversy with a developer, money-wise or something like that, I don't think we'll ever see a game again from them. But the game that they did make, Indivisible, is a great game. So definitely check it out.
Yep, I played that one. And and Lab Zero, the game designer, basically collapsed because of that controversy. So yeah, we will not be getting another one of those. So we will not be. Unfortunately, we won't be getting it. And I did play it. Yep.
Right. So it's one of those games that like I said, unfortunately, they did collapse, so we won't see another game from them again.
Right.
But
yeah, they were working on some updates to the game or a new version or whatever, and now they basically stopped the game development because of it. So.
All right. But if you can find Indivisible out there on the digital marketplace, definitely pick it up, because I don't know how long this game's going to stick around. I don't know how long it's going to be available for purchase. It may not be long, and it'll be gone, because the developer's not around anymore. So if you see it and you see it on sale or see it for a pretty good price, pick it up before it goes away. Because it is a good game. They did make a good game, regardless of the controversy and various things that happened with the publisher. They did make a really good game, so pick it up and play it.
Yep, definitely. Pretty good list. Pretty long list yet there, Nick. Anybody else got anything else they want to add before we close this one out?
No, great choices.
Yep, lots of games. So if you haven't played some of these, it's probably worth checking out. At least Googling them to see if it's something that would pique your interest, and you can download them and try them out. I wrote a few down myself because I hadn't played them. So, well, we appreciate everybody listening. Good.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is, if anybody thinks of anything that we didn't think of or we didn't list, you can go to our, this podcast will be on our YouTube as well. Or on our Facebook, of course, and Instagram. Please let us know, what games we should be checking out. There might be some hidden gems that we don't know about that you all who listen to this do know. that we should, that we didn't mention, or maybe some that we didn't know about that we should check out. There's a lot of games out there that, it's easy to miss or to bypass, and they're really good games. So.
Yep. Too many games, not enough time. That's the story of a gamer's life, right?
Right.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening to this episode, and we hope to catch you on the next.